Spinning her way into Stella Sora is Nazuka. Nazuka. I can't be the only one tripping over these names, right? Nazuka is our first limited versatile unit. So just how powerful can she be when she's not even on the field? Due to her current highly preferential placement as support, this guide will focus on her ability in the support role. We'll dig into her potentials, team variations, and look at best emblems, discs, etc. Let's dive into it. As a support, she has two builds, the Petal build and Flower Formation build. While the Petal build is described as a single target build, both builds actually have very similar single target damage. Before we can talk about the potentials, though, let's talk about our team. While using something like an off-element support as your main is totally viable, Nazuka either requires or has a very heavy reliance on a Ventus main trigger. For example, if you use her Flower Formation build and you're playing N as your final unit, you'd either have to sacrifice a large amount of damage by missing Turbulence procs, or hold the cooldown to line up with N's skill, which is also very inefficient. As such, bringing a Ventus main will help Nazuka reach her full potential easier. We'll consider both Nanoha, a decently strong DPS, and Canace, a versatile unit who can function well on little to no investment. Let's take a look. The first pairing we'll dive into is Nazuka with Nanoha. This build offers a balance of both her own personal damage as well as team buffs to support Nanoha. On Nazuka, we'll want to run both the Flower Formation traits as core. Self-Improvement and Almighty Leader are the priority potentials. Wind Demon Seed and Flower Formation Blast have slightly less value, but are high priorities in this build nonetheless. Finally, if you can manage to get all that, Erosion yields the next highest increase. For Nanoha, we'll use her second build here for boss DPS, focusing on Splendid Vortex, Blossom Shower, and Sky Piercer. Try and get 1 point in Infinite Shade and 3 points in Wind Whispers if possible. The former will give you an extra clone, and 3 points in Wind Whispers will allow you to get a second Blossom Shower per ult cast. Distant Prayer has potential to be very powerful as well, as the maximum value is roughly 5 times the minimum. But in practice, you will likely not be getting the full value of this most of the time. What if you don't have Nanoha though? Canace is a suitable replacement, and rather than doing DPS of her own, she supports Nazuka's damage. As such, we'll want to fully focus on Nazuka's potentials. The base build is very similar. Take the Flower Formation cores as well as Self-Improvement. Flower Formation Blast is the next priority here, followed by Wind Demon Seed. Finally, take Almighty Leader and Flower Formation Convergence. For Canace, less is more. Only 2 of her potentials do anything for the team. Take Most Admired and Erratic Weather as cores, as these will help maximize her buff and debuff power and uptime. Then focus on weakness analysis as well as subject boost. Everything else really doesn't matter, but it can be nice to grab Shadow Stride for an extra dodge, especially if your Canace is underleveled like mine. That extra dodge really comes in clutch. In an ideal Ascension run, you need to get lucky with dodging Canace's potentials early on such that you can pump more into Nazuka, as there is only a limited amount of +3 and +2s that you can get. Since Canace is your main, she'll get constant offerings throughout the run, so you can use those to slowly get her 2 potentials of note up to level 6. Last but not least, we have none other than Anne as our support. Wind Banish is a mandatory core due to the added debuff, and then run Downwind Journey with Nanoha or Gale Bastion with Canace for the extended coverage. Wind Erosion Havoc is the most important potential to pick up. Turbulent Flow and Forest Princess's Blessing are the next priorities. Other potentials aren't too important, as they buff the main tracker instead of benefiting the whole team. This is what the damage distributions will look like in a neutral environment, not including any bonus buffs. Note that the current wall splits increases support skill damage by 65%. Nanoha's damage is assuming you're getting an average of 5 hits on her shurikens, which may be higher or lower depending on the size of the boss. Canace's damage is not too relevant even when leveled up, so feel free to save your materials. The team is fairly simple to play. Nazuka's skill will leave behind a puddle, which will be where a majority of your damage is gonna come from. Because her ultimate locks her on the field for a very long duration, you want to make sure you use the skill before committing to her ult. Other than that, there really isn't too much else to pay attention to, other than trying to keep the enemies within the AoE of Anne's skill, which is really just a timing issue. How strong are Nazuka's talents? They offer just shy of a 40% personal damage increase between talent 0 and 5, with no real notable breakpoints. Keyword here is personal damage. The total team damage increase may be less depending on how strong your main DPS is. Emblem stats are very typical. For your level 70 emblem, you want to get pen and crit rate, along with skill or element damage. For level 80, the highest priority goes to support skill levels, followed by more pen, crit rate, and skill damage. For level 90, levels in Flower Formation Blast, Wind Demon Seed, and Self-Improvement all are extremely close to each other. Almighty Leader or Convergence or Erosion +3 are also acceptable options. The following disc calculations will evaluate the total team damage changes in a team with Nanoha. Her limited disc is actually slightly lower value than the Battle Pass disc here, though if you aren't running Nanoha, the scales will tip the other way. The Finale and Cataclysm discs are very close, with Nanoha's standard disc being a good amount lower as it primarily buffs only the main tracker. The event disc is very powerful, even at C1. Please just max it out though. For 4-star discs, Miraculous Anthem and Unknown Fragrance hold very similar value, but these are all much weaker than the 5-star options in general. And that wraps up this deep dive. I've spent days cooking up all kinds of memes for Nazuka, though in the end, it really just boils down to the Ventus options. But I guess the real question then would be, how viable is Nazuka as a main? I may dive into this in a separate video. Anyway, progress report on the calculator. It's been growing so much larger with all the new character additions, to a point where I had to set aside a whole day dedicated to refactoring things just to improve the running speed. I'm still planning on releasing this, but it's still so messy. As always, join my Discord to keep up to date with things or help chime in with theory crafting and testing. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!